To date, nobody has been convicted of the murder that shocked the nation nearly 3 decades ago. It remains one of the country's most high-profile unsolved crimes.
JonBenet Ramsey was just 6 years old when her life was tragically taken. For years, her family lived under a cloud of suspicion, facing painful questions and relentless accusations. Now, after nearly 3 decades of silence, her brother Burke Ramsey is finally speaking out, and what he reveals is deeply emotional. Stay with us as we uncover the real story behind this heartbreaking case. It has been almost 30 years since the death of JonBenet Ramsey shocked the world. A young girl full of life was found dead in her family's basement, turning what should have been a joyful holiday into a lifetime of grief for her loved ones. Now, nearly 28 years later, Burke, who had remained silent all this time, has finally broken that silence, and the world is once again paying attention. Burke was only 9 years old when his sister died. In the days that followed, media coverage exploded, placing him under intense scrutiny. People didn't just feel sympathy for the family, they also felt doubt. Questions quickly turned inward. Was it an intruder or someone inside the home? Now in his late 30s, Burke chose to speak publicly in an interview with Dr. Phil McGraw. For the first time, he opened up about that painful chapter of his life. He recalled standing at his sister's funeral, staring at her small casket. One detail stayed with him, something about her eyes didn't look right. That moment, frozen in time, left a lasting mark on him as a child. He admitted he didn't fully understand death back then. But when his father, John Ramsey, gently told him that his sister was now in heaven, and then broke down in tears, Burke said he couldn't hold himself together either. That moment changed everything. JonBenet, once known as a smiling child beauty queen, became the center of one of the most disturbing cases in modern history. Her innocent image was replaced by horrifying details. Reports suggested she had been strangled, suffered a fractured skull, and showed signs of abuse, a nightmare no family should ever endure. But what made the case even more unsettling was the ransom note. It demanded exactly $118,000, the same amount John Ramsey had recently received as a bonus. The note was unusually long, strangely detailed, and written using paper from inside the house, specifically from Patsy Ramsey's notepad. Investigators were baffled. Who could calmly sit and write such a detailed note during a crime like this? That single detail led many to believe the truth might be inside the house. Unexpectedly, suspicion began to shift toward Burke, the quiet child who reportedly slept through the chaos. People questioned his behavior. Why didn't he wake up? Why didn't he react? Why did he stay in his room? Some began to wonder, did he already know what had happened? When directly asked whether he had hurt his sister with a flashlight or any object, Burke firmly denied it. He insisted he stayed in bed, confused by the noise downstairs. He admitted he felt something was wrong, maybe even dangerous, but believed his parents would handle it. During his interview, some viewers noticed moments where Burke appeared to smile. This raised eyebrows. But experts later clarified that what looked like a smile was likely a nervous response, a sign of discomfort, not happiness. As Burke finally shared his side, legal experts and journalists who had followed the case for years weighed in. For decades, he had been one of the most talked about yet unheard voices in the entire story. His father once revealed how media attention tore their family apart. There was even a moment when Burke, as a child, saw a newspaper headline accusing him while out at a grocery store. He broke down in tears right there. Despite everything, John and Patsy tried to protect him. They tried to give him a normal life. But how do you protect a child when the entire world is watching and judging? Inside the Ramsey home, investigators documented a chaotic scene. Evidence markers covered the floors. Questions filled every corner. They found a flashlight that could have been used as a weapon, a makeshift strangulation device created from one of Patsy's paintbrushes, and strange footprints. Some even believed there were marks suggesting a stun gun may have been used. Yet, there were no clear signs of forced entry. That absence of evidence brought suspicion right back to the family. Why would someone enter a home, commit such a crime, and leave no trace? Even Burke was questioned by police. Newly released footage from those early interrogations showed just how carefully investigators examined him. One theory suggested he may have accidentally harmed his sister, and that his parents covered it up. But no solid evidence ever confirmed that. Today, Burke lives a quiet life as a software engineer, staying far from public attention. When he finally spoke, reactions were mixed. Some people questioned him again, while others believed he had simply been misunderstood all along. His expressions, his behavior, his silence, all interpreted in ways that may not reflect the trauma he experienced. And still the case remains unsolved. Authorities, including the Boulder police, continue to insist that the investigation is open. They are still searching for answers, still hoping for justice. Perhaps the reason this case continues to grip people is because JonBenet was so young. Or maybe it's the mix of wealth, fame, tragedy, and suspicion. Or maybe it's because we all want to believe that even after so many years, justice is still possible. Burke's recent statements have added new layers to an already complex story. At the same time, John Ramsey's emotional words have led many to reconsider long-held assumptions about the family. And now, attention turns once again to the question that has haunted this case for decades. Who did this? For John Ramsey, the pain has never faded. The idea that the person responsible for his daughter's death is still out there is something he struggles to accept. He has spent years trying to understand how such a tragedy could happen, and why justice has never been served. He believes that if investigators had approached the case differently from the beginning, the outcome might have been very different. Instead of focusing on finding the real killer, he says they focused too heavily on the family, especially him and his wife. That early suspicion created a lasting shadow over their lives. Grieving parents were forced to defend themselves while dealing with unimaginable loss. John describes it as exhausting and deeply painful. Not only did they lose their daughter in a horrific way, but they were also treated as suspects by the very people meant to help them. To him, it felt like a nightmare that never ended. He believes this narrow focus prevented the case from moving forward. By concentrating only on the family, other possible leads may have been ignored. And over time, those early mistakes only made things worse. Investigators, he claims, became defensive, less open to new ideas, making justice even harder to achieve. He also reflected on how this pressure affected his wife, Patsy, who passed away from cancer in 2006 without ever knowing who killed their daughter. That pain still stays with him. And even today, he is troubled by the fact that some of the same investigators remain connected to the case. He believes they are more focused on protecting their reputations than uncovering the truth. Public perception of the case was also heavily damaged by early media reports that directly targeted the Ramsey family. These narratives distracted attention from the real questions, the actual motives and opportunities surrounding JonBenet Ramsey's death. Despite everything, John Ramsey has never lost hope. He believes that advances in forensic science and modern technology could finally uncover new evidence. For him, solving his daughter's case is not just about justice. It is about preventing future tragedies and honoring her memory as a bright, joyful child. It has now been 28 years since that crime, and the investigation is once again gaining attention, especially around DNA evidence. Could the truth finally be close? Stay with us. If JonBenet were alive today, she would be nearing her 35th birthday. But instead of celebrating her life, the world still remembers her as the smiling little girl who loved dressing up for beauty pageants. Tragically, she only lived to be 6. On the day after Christmas in 1996, her lifeless body was discovered in the basement of her family's home. She had suffered severe injuries and had been strangled. Her name spread across the country, not only because of the horror of her death, but because no one has ever been arrested or convicted. More than 25 years later, the mystery remains unsolved. That morning after Christmas was supposed to be peaceful for the family. Everything changed when John and Patsy Ramsey woke up and realized their daughter was missing from her bed. Panic set in. Then they found a handwritten note. It claimed JonBenet had been kidnapped and demanded a ransom of $118,000 for her safe return. Patsy immediately called emergency services, her voice trembling as she asked for help. Police arrived quickly, but crucial mistakes followed. The house was not properly secured, and those early errors would affect the case forever. For nearly 6 hours after authorities arrived, JonBenet was still missing inside the home. During that time, people moved in and out of the house, touched objects, shifted items, and unknowingly disturbed critical evidence. Important clues were lost, some possibly destroyed. From the very beginning, the handling of the crime scene made it incredibly difficult to recover what was gone. Journalist Paula Woodward, who covered the case in Colorado, later described the scene as chaotic. But nothing compared to the moment JonBenet's body was finally discovered. Her father, John Ramsey, found her in the basement 6 hours after police had already arrived. He had been told to search the house. This raises a haunting question. What if the police had found her first? What if the scene had remained untouched? Instead, John carried her upstairs in action experts later said may have compromised key evidence. John later described that moment. At first, he felt a brief sense of relief, believing his daughter had been found alive. But that hope vanished instantly when he realized she wasn't breathing. The grief was immediate. So was the frustration. He has long believed that the investigation's early mistakes allowed the real perpetrator to escape. According to him, trained professionals could have handled the scene differently and preserved vital evidence. As media coverage intensified, another detail fueled public judgment. JonBenet's participation in beauty pageants. This led to even greater scrutiny of her parents. While John and Patsy insisted their daughter enjoyed the activity, many people had already formed their opinions. In their eyes, the parents were guilty. Years later, after Patsy passed away in 2006, without ever knowing who killed her daughter, new DNA evidence officially cleared the family of suspicion. But it still did not bring justice. In 2018, breakthroughs in DNA technology, similar to those that helped identify the Golden State Killer, gave John renewed hope. He learned about advanced forensic labs capable of analyzing cases once thought unsolvable. Now he wants the remaining DNA evidence from the JonBenet case to be retested using modern methods. With the help of experts like C.C. Moore, known for solving cold cases, he believes this could be their best chance. These experts can analyze millions of DNA markers, opening doors that were once impossible. But despite these advancements, John faces a major obstacle: the Boulder police. He claims they have long viewed him and his late wife as suspects and have been reluctant to release certain evidence. He has publicly requested access to untested DNA samples, insisting that after all these years, there is no excuse for delay. For him, time has already taken too much, and still answers remain out of reach. In his determination, John even appealed to the Colorado governor, asking for intervention to ensure the release of DNA evidence. He believes it is a simple and fair request after decades of waiting. He was deeply moved by the public response. Many people supported him, expressing that a child's brutal death deserves every possible effort toward justice. Yet, that effort still feels incomplete. John remains open to any help from any expert, from any background. He says if every possible avenue is explored and still nothing is found, he will accept it, no matter how painful. But not trying at all is something he cannot accept. Interestingly, new developments have also come from unexpected places. Recordings left behind by former detective Lou Smith have resurfaced. His family believes the killer may still be alive, and that these recordings could hold important clues. So, has a suspect finally been identified? Let's look at where the case stands today. Over the past 28 years, John Ramsey has endured unimaginable loss. He lost his daughter and later his wife to cancer. The constant media scrutiny only added to his suffering. Even after rebuilding parts of his life, the headlines never fully disappeared. Still, his search for the truth has never stopped. He has openly criticized the Boulder police for their handling of the case, while expressing deep respect for Lou Smith. Smith firmly believed an intruder, not the family, was responsible. Despite his detailed investigation, he faced resistance from authorities and eventually stepped away from the official case. But he didn't stop. He continued investigating on his own, collecting thousands of leads and compiling a list of potential suspects, many of whom were never seriously pursued. Before his death in 2010, he passed all of this work to his daughter, Cindy Smith. Now, she carries his mission forward. She continues gathering DNA samples, hoping to match them with the unidentified evidence found in the case. Jon still holds onto hope that modern science will one day reveal the truth. But at the same time, uncertainty remains. Without full access to the evidence, he fears justice may never come. He has often expressed deep regret, wishing he could have protected his daughter. Yet through all the pain, one thing remains constant: love, and the hope that one day he will be reunited with her again.